unfortunately will not be able to join us and really wanted to see the recording of this session, so I'll be sure to send that out to everyone after we're concluded. And Amy Spencer, I don't expect her. She's in front of some deadlines here herself, so she was able to give a little bit of brief input, but mentioned I didn't think she would be able to make this either. So, all right. Let me go to full screen here. Okay, our session today is Marketing the Cloud, and thank you all for joining today. Just to give you a little heads up, I tried summarizing everybody's input. You guys did a great job with those questionnaires, and we have such a wide variety of resellers, ISVs, combinations, 100% in the cloud, almost 0% in the cloud. So summarizing them became a little difficult. I did provide some basic information, kind of high level, some examples of responses, and I'll go through those on the front end. And then I think it'd probably be the most valuable. So we hear from most everybody who would like to share. I'll bring up your survey, and you can talk to 1, 2, 3, or all of the points on your questionnaire survey to give your some color around what your company is doing, how you're addressing what we're probably all challenged with. How do we market to the cloud in the most effective way, and how do we measure results and all those kind of things, because it's pretty new for most of us. So let's get started. Just to remind everyone of the profiles, we have ISVs that you have listed here, and I made a note that My Apps Anywhere, of course, all about cloud and hosting, so they're 100%. AvidXchange, as Haley points out, is 100% cloud, and they're a very early SaaS provider of their solution. So I think they've always been that way. And then from a reseller standpoint, we have a number of resellers, a pretty good mix there. Intact product that Synergy Solutions offers being 100% cloud, and then I think the SL is something 5–10% penetration of cloud today for Michael, but he can paraphrase or provide more information later. And then Jovico plays both sides, ISV and reseller, and so they have some unique challenges there as well. And I know Natalie with My Apps Anywhere, you also represent Net Standard, so you play both sides there a little bit as well. But for BBC purposes, I think you're primarily representing My Apps Anywhere. Anya shared with me some information she recently has seen, and probably not too surprising. This survey went out to ISVs and partners, I believe, and those who were doing about the same SaaS cloud marketing, those were doing a little bit more. Oops, very high level there as well. Sorry, I advanced. There we go. And then considerably more in the 18% category. So only 9% are doing less spending on their website for the cloud applications than in the past. Okay, so moving over, transitioning to the questionnaire. One of the first questions was, let me see if I can move this toolbar. Okay. From a reseller perspective, what were some of the responses? I just grabbed a couple of them, some of the early returns on the questionnaire. Tanya had mentioned that someone asked for it. We'll look into it. We do push CRM online for smaller installs, but not seeing a whole lot of cloud activity to date. And I'll let Tanya speak to her entire questionnaire here in a little bit. Anya's comment, we have been very slow to adopt cloud in the past several years. A few of our GP clients moved existing systems to cloud, but kind of on their own, working with data centers they choose, kind of very independently sourcing their cloud. However, as of about 3 months ago, we actively are promoting a cloud offering of GP that, Anya, you can talk to more detail here in a little bit. So then let's just transition to that same question for an ISV. There we go. Okay. Vicinity's comment is, what's their cloud strategy? They partner closely with Longevity in Denver and Go ERP Cloud from Rose in San Diego. Our cloud subscription revenues are up significantly. We have included cloud versus on-premise comparisons in our nurture marketing programs. Myself, Appelis, we've really focused on trying to drive SEO via websites, website information that we place on there, the blogs that we do, trade show representation there as much as possible. We do have a free 30-day trial where we spin up an Azure instance of our solution for them to play with. And it's, I'll mention it's a little bit unique in that they actually can add their items and their bin numbers into our trial, so it really becomes their data when they're presenting to executives how the solution works. So a little bit unique in that aspect. A lot of partnerships that we've developed, co-promoted with Natalie, My Apps. We've done Go ERP Cloud and their unique approach with blogs and so on for a whole ISV community. SMB Suite, done some co-promotions with them. And then Azure, and I did have a few slides in here. They have a kind of a ISV for apps on their marketplace, kind of a market out in the box type of program that we've embarked on. So pretty early. I don't have a lot of information there yet, but I did want to share a little bit of that. From the next question, what marketing efforts are you considering for the next 12 months? Tanya, some campaigns for smaller CRM prospects who find us organically. And Anya, a lot more blog posts and promoting to existing customers. From an ISV perspective, Brooke mentioned specifically for cloud, we are looking to do some joint marketing campaigns with Longevity and other VARs in Q4 and Q1 2016. Haley, we're running a variety of marketing programs, including webinars, trade shows, email campaigns, SEM, and our inbound program, which includes lots of educational content, landing pages, etc. I just went to summarize 2 more questions, I believe, so bear with me, and then we'll go to individuals so that you guys can give more specific comments. But the reseller response in terms of who is my go-to host provider and who is a secondary. In some cases, people had secondary and in others not. I didn't name each individual, but you can see those later. Data resolutions first, Azure second, Longevity first, My App second, Longevity, SaaS Plaza, none of the above was another comment from one of the resellers. From the ISV perspective, 1 led with Azure, none, no clue, Longevity, My Apps, and Azure. Those were the responses there. And then the last question is the reseller response to what % of new clients are you hosting today? And that's this first column. And then in a year, where do you hope to be? And so it ranged from 0 to I'm not sure, 0 to 25. One ISV responded 5% today, looking for 33% in a year, 10% going to 50%, 25 to 50, 50 to 50, so maintaining, and 100% to 100%. So those were a couple areas that were easy to summarize. Some of these others, I think it's be more valuable to hear from the individuals. Okay, one more. Where does Microsoft Azure fit in the market? Anya, we looked at hosting GP ourselves on Azure, talked a lot with this company who is doing it well, Savantis, and please comment a little bit on that further, Anya. But it just seems way too complicated for a company like ours to take on. And Carl had commented, you know, I think he was trying to say, you know, Azure makes sense in a lot of ways because it's for a Microsoft product, you're hosting it on Microsoft, and so it just seems to fit well. And then ISV's responses, myself, I commented, I'm reminded of the saying that nobody ever got fired for buying IBM, and even recently, getting to the contract phase, the customer had forgot to ask where I was hosting it, and they were wanting a lot of information on security, compliance, SOX compliance, how do we back up, and all those kind of things. And so I had to prepare information for them, but I mentioned it was Microsoft Azure, and that quickly dissolved away as, oh, okay, don't worry about it. We feel like our questions are answered there. So it it was very helpful for me in that instance. And I'm sure there are good stories for all the approaches that can be taken, but that was just one example I had recently during contracts. And then I just saw a blog, I think it was last Friday, on the ERP software blog, where Rose ASP had blogged about leveraging Microsoft Azure Dynamics. So if anybody wants to go in more detail, I saw another one today too related to cloud. So there's, of course, a great resource to look at any recent blogs related to this as well. But I wanted to talk a little bit more about the marketing that we've embarked on. And again, too early for me to describe a lot about the success or failures here, but the Cloud OS app launch services that Microsoft, with their go-to-market, are providing. And you know, so they have this launch program at a glance, app awareness, marketing and sales materials, events in a box, community and insights. So all I can say is we're still learning about this, but I wanted to let you know one area that we are and have invested and will continue to. And then there's a lot of resources here. You can go to any of these links to find out more information there, but just wanted to flash that up. And then now, transitioning over to the individual responses, Amy had not filled out a survey, but she did make this comment, so I'll just briefly kind of share it with you. Right, wrong, or indifferent, we don't have a cloud strategy or marketing plan today. We focus on selling the solution and treat the cloud as simply a deployment option. We do have many clients in the cloud, but I don't have easy access to stats I can share. Okay, so you can read that. And I know, Calais, you had mentioned also you may not have access to a lot of the stats related to your cloud penetration, and you know, that's completely fine. You're welcome to give any comments. I know Avalara is doing a great job with marketing to the cloud, or I feel like they are. You can comment more further yourself.
Yeah, exactly. And I was going to say, and I'm sorry, I felt bad about my response, but we are 100% cloud. So it's a bit of a unique approach that we have to that, just because of our nature.
Oh, okay. I didn't realize you were 100%.
Yeah. Well, yeah, let's say 99.
Okay. Get it.
Well, and this is Marlene. I think it's what Amy says is what. Go ahead. You guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so what I think Amy says is interesting because we are, our ACA solution is being launched in the cloud right now. We had a lot of discussions about how do we push that message of being in the cloud, and at the end of the day, we look at it too as kind of a deployment of the solution, and the benefit is that the clients get quick updates. You know, they don't have to download stuff, they don't have to look for updates, but the solution just happens to be in the cloud. So we're not really. I thought it was interesting because I always question, do we need cloud and market the cloud, you know, but so far we've just used it as the solution, and it being in the cloud is a benefit. Does that make sense?
Yeah, like it's a deployment option. And I'll use that as a segue, Marlene. Hopefully you can see your questionnaire there, and welcome you to talk to 1, 3, or all of your responses there and share with the group kind of your thoughts.
It was pretty short. I apologize because I really don't know that much about it, and it's new territory for us. So I was more kind of on the learning side of this. Okay, does anybody know how heavily we should market that it's in the cloud? And it really is, I should make the distinction. We have our HR payroll add-ons for GP, and then we have this ACA solution that goes with any ERP system, so it's not limited to GP. So my challenge in the next 12 months is really, first of all, marketing outside of the GP channel, but also the fact that this is in the cloud just kind of is so far as an aside. So if anybody feels strongly that I should do it differently, let me know, because that would be good feedback to have.
Okay, any other comments relative to your input here?
I did answer the campaign driven by VAR programs. We generally have campaigns ready to go if VARs are willing to do a campaign around our products. The challenge is more getting VARs to do that than creating the content.
Okay. Any other comments are welcome, and I will. I'm going to shrink yours, Marlene. I'm going to go to the next questionnaire and allow the input to keep coming, and hopefully it'll answer some of those questions more as we go. But let's see as we go through this. So let me take randomly the next one here. First one up is Haley. Can you see this?
Hey everybody, I'm like Marlene. We are 100% in the cloud, and I mean we don't do anything in particular that's marketing in the cloud because that's all we've ever done. So I'm pretty lost on this topic. And I don't know what else to say.
Yeah, Haley, do you host? Do you have your own IT, your own servers right in on premise there, or do you have some off-site storage, data storage?
Both.
Okay.
We have both.
Yep. You have multiple, like East Coast, West Coast, or how do you do that?
Yeah, we have East Coast, West Coast, and Canada.
Okay. Well, you're the expert then, Haley. We might come back to you with more questions. How you do
I don't know. Unfortunately, I don't know anything about it.
Yeah.
I know that there's been some talk about hosting our solution on Microsoft's cloud because that seems to have been important to some customers in the past, but we haven't done that yet. We've just been talking about it.
Right. Sometimes the GP implementation has 18 ISVs with it. I could see where some might say, well, I want to have it exchanged, but I want it with all my other stuff.
Right.
You ever get that?
Yeah. Mhm.
Okay. Perfect. Well, we'll keep moving then, but thanks for the input and hang on.
Sorry about that.
No problem. Okay. And let's see. Let's go to Julie.
Yeah, so our business is about 50% cloud right now, and we've had a cloud practice for several years now, probably about 5, and it's grown steadily. Earlier this spring, we got a new cloud services manager, and so our focus is sort of shifting from marketing cloud as a separate entity, as if it was a product like GP and CRM and AX and whatever, to have it sort of be like what was mentioned a few moments ago about how, it's just a deployment option, and we're presenting, the options available to them, whether it's on-premise or hybrid or cloud or hosted or whatnot. So our marketing is sort of shifting along with that, so that the cloud message is being integrated more into our messaging for everything else. And here I talk, sorry, it's all paragraph form, which isn't the easiest to read in this format. But last year we created an ebook and accompanying cheat sheet that was sort of detailed the different deployment options that are available, and we used this analogy of hotels versus houses versus condos and that kind of thing. That got a lot of traction, so now we're sort of taking that to the next level because that traction sort of plateaued. And I think last year we saw a lot of clients trying to understand what was out there, and now people have a basic understanding of what's available. They just want to know what's right for them. So we've converted that into a deployment recommendation tool, which they answer like 3 questions and they get a recommendation. And we're seeing a lot of traction with our existing GP clients as they're upgrading, assessing whether or not it's the right time to move to the cloud or to host their licenses, things like that. So we are trying to capitalize on those conversations. We've created a calculator with our hosting prices to take advantage of those. So we're trying to give people self-service tools and sort of let them stay in control of the conversation and find out where they are in their understanding, as well as promoting the value of our implementation services versus a do-it-yourself approach or direct from the vendor, because we also sell NetSuite. So when it comes to NetSuite, we're going up against NetSuite themselves, who are selling direct. So we're really refining our messages around, why it's important to have a partner and what services we provide and the value of those services. So that's where we are from a marketing perspective.
Thank you, Julie. And I also saw Anya typed in, could you share your ebook with the group? So you can ponder that. Okay, excellent. Yeah, I was wondering if how much you're learning from NetSuite that you're able to apply to Dynamics GP or other things.
Honestly, since we're still building the practice, NetSuite provides a ton of resources that we're able to leverage, but because they do, continue to sell direct, we're coming up against NetSuite in NetSuite deals. So yeah, I'd say the biggest learning is just how to quantify the value of our implementation services and how to communicate that to the prospects, because when you start talking about services, those aren't, keywords that anyone's searching for. That's not, what people are thinking they need to know when they're looking at software. So it's our job to sort of educate them about everything that they need to consider and how to, save themselves some time and headaches by getting us involved up front rather than coming to us after the implementation's already flopped, which is a lot of what we're doing on the NetSuite side right now.
That makes sense. Hey, Julie, who is your go-to hoster if one of your clients asks you what you recommend?
We work with we have a couple different data centers we work directly. I know in the past we worked with SaaS Plaza. I couldn't get a response from our new cloud services manager to know if we still have a relationship with them, but we do have some local and offsite data centers so that we can provide hosting ourselves.
Great, thank you. Any other questions for Julie at this time? If not, we'll move to Natalie.
Sorry about that. I had to unmute myself. Can you hear me? Hello?
Yes.
Okay, good.
Yes.
Yeah, so, all we do really with My Apps Anywhere is market the cloud, right? So over the last, I would say maybe 6 months, we've been looking at ways to overhaul our marketing strategy and our sales strategy to make things a little bit easier, quicker, easier for our partners to deploy for their customers. So in keeping with that, we're reevaluating our messaging and trying to figure out what it is exactly clients want to hear when they are thinking about the cloud. I know a lot of people have already said it, so this is a bit of repetitive information. It seems from what we understand that most of the time, most of the cloud deals are end users coming to the partner and saying, hey, I want to know more about this cloud thing. What we would like to do is have it be a situation where when they start asking questions about the cloud, we're there to answer them and then connect them with their partner in a supportive capacity to make sure that deal gets closed. So that's what our goal is. We have a really big area to market to. We've got partners in almost every state. So for us, digital advertising is really a great way to go. That's in addition to some of the more usual suspects, you know, like connecting with GPUG, doing convergence, the standard kinds of things. So we're really interested in pay-per-click strategy. I will say for Net Standard on our managed services side, just as a bit of anecdotal evidence of the success of that, I've been, let's see, we started in June running a pay-per-click ad campaign in Kansas City for managed services. And every week I break my record. I break my record for website traffic every week. So if that's something that you're interested in considering in, I'd say do it. It's good. And that's a particularly hard market to target anyway with advertising. So it's something that we've been thinking about doing for the cloud side of our business too, just to see if that's an avenue that would work. Obviously, we're our own hoster of choice, so we have our own data center, and you know, one of our challenges is that. So to Steve's point, you know, people talk about, oh, well, it's Azure, so I don't need to ask those questions. Well, we provide all the same, if not more, controls than they do. But here's the catch: is that doesn't seem to be of interest to the vast majority of people interested in the cloud. So you've got to be there with that information, but you can't really lead with it. So, I mean, really, I don't know, Steve, if you want, I'd be happy to answer if anybody's curious what we've tried. You know, maybe that's a better way to phrase this piece of the conversation. I don't know.
Yeah, you're welcome to, Natalie. You know, when I was thinking about it, if I had gotten that question and My Apps was our choice, I would have had to introduce you and you would have had to gone through your spiel, as opposed to I just said the words Microsoft and we went on to the next topic, you know, and that is the reality. But you're right, I'm sure you have all those protections in place.
And actually, you know, I mean, but this is the tricky part with regard to the cloud. So everybody thinks they know what the cloud means, right? But what we also know is that they don't really know what the cloud means. They don't understand that there are many kinds of clouds with different levels of security controls and different possibilities. So it's a little harder. Like, for example, you know, one of the things that we've done with our data center is implemented denial of service protection, and that's extended to all of our My Apps Anywhere customers. Now, here's the catch, is that most people don't think their business would be a target of a denial of service attack until it is. So that's the trick. The education piece is a little hard for us, and one of the things we're undergoing right now is really trying to hammer out what is that best message. What is the message that's really going to hit our customers the way that we want to hit them? I don't know that we've come to a firm conclusion yet. I wish I could share that with you, but I don't have it. I can tell you a lot of different things that we have tried, though. So, I mean, again, if anybody wants to turn this around and ping me, knock yourself out.
Natalie, this is Anya. I have a question for you.
Yeah.
You had mentioned at one point in the future that some wording that you used kind of resonated more with prospects than others, and I thought that was pretty interesting that you had talked about using the term cloud versus online. I didn't know, maybe the rest of the group didn't hear that, or have you kind of fine-tuned it or had any other revelations about it?
Yeah, you know, I think the hard part is, like I said, everybody thinks they know what cloud is. So I think if you start saying online, it starts to get a little confusing. I'm not really sure that a lot of people understand that CRM online is still CRM in the cloud, and that really anything that you're getting provisioned to you online is in the cloud. I'm not really sure that's an understood point. So hosted seems to work pretty well for us, better than cloud. I'll tell you, if I put cloud in the headline of anything, I often joke, I'm like, hey, you guys want to write a blog post about cloud and say no and click on it? I mean, it's just, I think it's an overused word, and Microsoft has a lot of evidence. I'm not sure how many of you have seen to support that, you know, people are just sick to death of the word cloud. I'm sick to death of it, and I'm sure many of you are as well. What's interesting, Anya, is that words like cost savings don't really seem to make a huge difference. You know, free trials, I think, too, Microsoft has said are not working, and I will 100% back that up as something that doesn't work. And then, secure, well, I think the challenge with going with the secure messages, it really only matters if you've got a company that's already familiar with a lot of compliance restraints. If you're talking just to the average person and you're saying your cloud is secure, I'm not really sure that they understood that they weren't secure in the first place. There's probably a bigger conversation piece there. So, hosted works. I'm not sure, Anya, unfortunately, that I can tell you any other buzzwords that I've found work really well. We've tested a lot of things, and we're still testing.
Thanks. Interesting.
Great input, Natalie. Any other comments or questions for Natalie? We'll keep moving here. Carl is not here. Let me see what comments I could share. SAS Plaza is where he leads. They had a bad experience with another provider, so they moved to SAS Plaza, it sounds like. 25% cloud going to 50%. They, a comment here about additional programs. They've got a specific vertical that they're servicing, and so they really need to target their material in that direction. Okay, so I'll keep moving here. Had a chance to speed read that one. Thank you, Carl, for that input. Michael and Peter, any comments you'd like to share here?
Yeah, this is Michael. One of the things, we have both Intact and Dynamics SL. So really Intact, since it is a complete cloud product, web-based software, it's really a different animal. Everything is cloud. So one of the things that we do as we get prospects is educate them about what the difference is between a software like Intact that's run in the cloud and one that's hosted. So we have this white paper that I mentioned in the first line there that kind of educates people about what the differences are and really what the benefits are of each one. So we kind of start there. When it gets down to the Dynamics product, really we don't really do a lot of extra work promoting the cloud. It's just another deployment option, but we're basically focusing on the advantage for them if they want to get out of the IT business and they want to put it in the cloud. They don't have to worry about having it on premise and so forth. So we focus on the benefits that they get and then defining what the terms mean so that they really understand what's going on. And on the Intact side, I mean, the big thing is this is really different than on-premise software. You get quarterly innovations, upgrades because it's a web-based product. So that's kind of what we run with Intact. And on the hosted side, it's more if you want to get out of the IT business. But we don't really. A lot of people are interested in hosting, but I asked our client services people. I was really surprised to find out we only have two clients that are actually hosting Dynamics SL. Even though probably next year, if you ask us that, we're probably going to have a lot more because there's a whole bunch of them in the pipeline that want to host. But one of the things we've discovered is we use data resolutions, and I would love to hear what other people are using to host Dynamics, but we find it to be kind of pricey, and we start pricing out things. And so we're really looking at Azure right now to bring it in-house and find if we could really bring the price down of hosting if we did that. But it really, one of the things we're discovering is it really only makes sense for certain size clients, ones that are either really small that if we hosted it ourselves on Azure, it wouldn't be that much client support necessary. Or if they're really big and they already have a big IT department, then they can kind of do their own support of the hosting option. So it's really kind of like those middle 10, maybe 10 or 20 users that we're thinking, okay, those really make sense for a data resolution type thing, and the others, they get really pricey. So we're thinking about getting Azure just so that we can compete with, bring the price down for certain clients. So that's really about, I'm trying to look over my survey, what I had to share. We really don't, basically the Intacct product kind of speaks for itself. We're always talking about cloud, and the Dynamics product is really just a deployment option right now. But we are finding more and more people are wanting to move to the cloud. They just hear about the advantages, and so it's less education, and but education is still important. But it's not so much to persuade people, yeah, cloud makes sense, because they're already getting that message.
Yeah, I would agree, Michael. I'm kind of seeing that myself. This is Steve speaking. Any other questions or comments for Michael or Peter? Okay, thank you. Let's see who's next. Okay, Tanya.
Hi everyone. I guess I'm kind of relieved to see that I'm not the only one whose company is afraid of the C word or not using cloud to its fullest extent yet. So that made me feel a little better, because for us, we dabbled probably about a year ago with an initiative. We went to a Ramp Up Microsoft event, and I think just the whole pricing strategy of Azure kind of scared us off a little bit, and we really haven't had that much demand, not that we push it either in regards to the cloud. So it's more for us, we also have our Dynamics CRM business. So it's really only with the CRM side of things that we talk about online or cloud or reducing your costs, your infrastructure costs. And we haven't really, we're not really even looking at pushing it too much over the next year either. So I guess I'm not the most interesting person to add to this conversation today, but it has been very interesting for me to hear how other people are going about it, and I'm sure we'll eventually have to jump on the bandwagon, but honestly, we're not there yet. We don't, the Quebec market for our VAR business is notoriously known for being late adopters of technology, so that probably doesn't help the whole push towards the cloud situation either. And then from the ISV side, we've been very reactive as well. If a partner approaches us asking us for a pricing for a cloud-based solution, we kind of scramble and come up with something. But what we are looking at is for our new timesheet application, we are going to be considering looking at a cloud-based solution, or with our apps and stuff like that. We're kind of going to be forced to kind of follow the new trends and things like that. But we're not there yet to say, I wouldn't even be fair to say that we are anywhere close to cloud ready, cloud savvy, or cloud interested in at this point in time.
Thank you.
Sorry.
Tanya. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh no, I'm just sorry that I can't really add to this presentation as much as I would have liked to.
No, hey, you're definitely not alone, and I think maybe there's some comfort in knowing that you do a lot of education in the front end, and then you kind of turn that corner, as I think Michael's seeing. I'm seeing a little bit of turning the corner, where I'm really not selling them on cloud or not cloud. It's just, if you want it, here's how we go about it, and we think it's good. Either approach, either deployment option is, hopefully similar in profitability, or maybe even better in profitability for us, but that needs to be proven out through time.
Yeah. Oh, definitely got some comfort today, so thanks everyone.
Good. Okay, let's here, and Caitlin and Brooke. I'm not sure if you're both on the line, or I did see Caitlin.
This is Caitlin. I'm on the line. I can speak about it. So for us, we don't necessarily do a lot of outbound marketing about the cloud and us being there. It's simply a deployment option, and we really leverage if there's a VAR involved when it comes to a sales when they get there. If there's a VAR involved, we really leverage and support their choices. So a lot of them have built up their own cloud practice. Otherwise, as Brooke stated, we've a partnership with Ingevity. Can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, sorry, it got really quiet. And part of our nurture campaign that she mentions here is a campaign that I drove out, and it's really just about how to buy software. We're dealing with small to mid-sized manufacturers. They are kind of clueless. They simply want to be more sophisticated overall. And so we just advertise cloud as an option for them. And it's really an option of how you can save your own resources, not only upfront capital investment, but hey, you guys don't have an IT department. You know, you have no business getting involved with a server or having it on-premise, the maintenance and just overall cost of that. So we kind of have it drilled down to your annual upfront cost, and people really respond to that, talking about, you know, hey, here's an extra $50,000 versus maybe $5,000. You know, what does it make sense for you? And as they're growing, they're going to go for a cheaper option. So that's what we get responses to, and I would say at least 50% of our business goes towards cloud options from new sales. Existing sales or clients, they're going out and finding their own cloud providers and bringing them to us, and we just simply work with whoever they've brought to the table.
That's fantastic to be at 50%, Caitlin, because you've been at it, what, 18 months or 2 years? Or?
Well, they've been, when I first came on, which was 3 years ago, we were partnered with Rose as our cloud partner. We weren't really doing any marketing there. It was just kind of as an option. And like I said, we don't really drive people to the cloud. It's simply an option. And because we're dealing with people who most of the time are just getting up and running on a system, you know, so they opt for the cloud. It's just a lot easier, more straightforward for them. So they kind of come to us expecting a cloud option, to be honest. So kind of, I think Natalie mentioned that as well.
Mm-hmm. Great. Other questions for Caitlin? Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. Okay, Anya.
Yes, I'm here. So my boss has been basically kind of dragging his feet towards the cloud for a long time. And I think the real reason is the cost, because he just feels like if he can't justify the cost to himself, how can he justify it to a prospect? Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So we did it. The problem is that we had all these companies and prospects coming to us asking about cloud, and every single time someone asked, we had to go get information from someone else, and we didn't really have just a strong handle on what the offering was. And more often than not, I would say, well, almost all the time, the prospect asked about the cloud, but then they didn't actually end up buying in the cloud. They ended up buying on-premise, but we still had a really hard time every time they asked. So probably about 6 months ago or so, we just made the decision that this is ridiculous. We have to become comfortable selling the cloud, whether people buy it or not. So we did a ton of research on Azure, and honestly, to us, it seemed so huge and overwhelming, so many, a big cost investment, complicated pricing, a lot of kind of gotchas that you don't hear about from Microsoft. They make it sound really easy, but when we talked to some partners, they said it's very scary. And even the ones that are doing it say it's very scary. I think if you have a background already as an IT company, it's easier than someone like us that doesn't have that experience. So we decided Azure wasn't for us, and we picked a hosting provider that we felt was inexpensive and had some benefits that we liked, and gave us the information we needed in kind of a very simple way. And we bugged them. Gosh, you guys know how annoying I am with emails. I must have sent them 100 emails asking, well, what about this and what about that, and finally developed this FAQ on our website now that basically has every single question a prospect could ever possibly ask us about cloud, so that we know the answer and we don't look stupid anymore not knowing the answer to that. And I actually just started marketing kind of this cloud offering, not very aggressively yet, but I posted a blog article. It was like 43 questions to ask before you move to the cloud or something. And then basically like 3 days later, I had a prospect email me that said, I read that article, I've been researching Dynamics GP in the cloud, it's super confusing. Yeah, there's the quote. I'm looking to move. And she's an existing Dynamics GP customer, but she signed up with us, so she's now a client. So that to me shows that people are looking for simplicity, because it just Dynamics GP in the cloud is just really complicated. Even for us, it's just complicated. It's not meant to be in the cloud, and there's all these weird little gotchas and things with Office 365 and whatever. So we have this offering now, and something we feel confident with. We just signed up our first customer, going through kind of the pain of getting that all going, but now it's something that we have in our tool belt, and I think we will market it as an option, a deployment option, and we do kind of seem to refer to it as Dynamics GP Online, hoping that is something. And I've also found that there's quite a few, like Julie said, existing GP users that are evaluating whether or not to go online or go to cloud. And so those are good prospects for us as well. So that's my 2 cents.
Anya?
Yep.
Michael, who's your hosting provider?
It's Nagevity.
Oh, Nagevity. I keep hearing that. We use data resolutions, and we find them to be very pricey, and I haven't looked at Nagevity, but I'm wondering how Nagevity compares to other hosting providers. If you said it, do you think they're less expensive than most, or what?
We found that they're much less expensive. They say that they have all the same great security features that like My Apps Anywhere does. We are still going to use My Apps Anywhere, because if we have some clients that I feel are really security conscious, you know, maybe if they were a bank or a public company or something like that, because I feel like My Apps really has it a much more professional, like they've got it down more. But for the majority of our customers, I think price is the biggest thing, and some of the fancier, you know, maybe didn't matter as much. So yes, the pricing is much lower, and one of the things I really liked is the simplicity. Like I said, they include all dexterity-based ISV modules at no cost. So anything the customer owns, they can just have hosted without an additional cost. And that was big, because each time in the past that we had to do a quote, we'd have to go back and say, okay, well, they have this ISV, how much is that going to cost? Well, now they have this, how much is that going to cost? And we feel like the pricing is a little bit more streamlined. So okay. You can see the pricing right on our website. It's white labeled, so nobody looking at our website knows that it's Nagevity. I mean, we wouldn't hide it if they asked, but and those are just the prices they recommend that we use. We could have marked them up, but.
I see. The other thing, we're just kind of starting the research on Azure, but we've just found that, like, if you've got like this one prospect, they have lots of users. This is a huge deal, and putting it on the hosting provider that we have is very expensive, but then we priced it on Azure, and it's like 1/4 the cost, literally. It's just incredible. So, of course, the other side is to make sure that you have the IT support. But for this particular prospect, they already have an IT department that could actually support themselves. So I'm just wondering if there's anyone who uses Azure that find that it's much better because, you know, if you've got the IT resources, you find it much better and much cheaper.
You know, the only thing I can say is that I had that conversation with the company Cyvantis, and you know, you might want to look at their website or even give them a call. But they were just bringing up a lot of things that we had no idea about, and I honestly can't remember what they are all now. But there was things about, you know, minimums and the pricing changing every month depended on how much data you used, and you know, money you had to invest up front, and just a lot of things that for George and I that we thought, my boss, we thought, wow, that's scary to us. And we were ready to go and do Azure ourselves and have our IT people back it up and or maintain it and everything. And we just got really scared away from it. I think, like I said, Microsoft makes it sound a lot easier than it seems to be in reality. We also talked to Craig Kreskus at Microsoft. It's like one of the technical specialists, and he was kind of helpful too in terms of going into it with your eyes open.
All right, that's good to know. I might pick your brain about that later. We're just trying to figure out Azure. It seems to make sense if for certain size. If for either a very large client or a very small client, but not like in the 10 to 20 user range. So we're trying to figure that out. Thanks.
Yeah.
Michael, just to clarify, this is Steve. Did you say that in one instance where you priced it out, Azure was 1/4 the price of data resolutions?
Yeah.
Okay.
It was incredible. I mean, you know, of course, when you do Azure, you got to make sure you've got the IT resources, but in this particular case, the client was so big that their IT department could actually handle it themselves. We just needed to set it up in Azure rather than going to a third party.
Yeah. Okay, excellent. I'm watching time here. We got 5 more minutes, and I think we have 2 more to go through. I'll just make mine very brief, but kind of dovetailing on what was just discussed there. We do lead with Azure, and you know, fortunate for me, my technical folks have embraced it from the get-go. I'm sure it was very challenging and more challenging than I know, but so we just jumped on board and kind of haven't looked back. But we're finding today that we will put our solution on Azure. GP might be on Azure, but another ISV in one instance is on Concerto. We'll be on Azure with our system, and SMB Suite will be hosting GP on their, you know, environment. So, or possibly Azure themselves. But anyway, so there's this thing now where I hope it all works. It sounds like it's all going to work, but where it's multiple different hosting providers for one company's solution, and that's seeming to be more and more the approach that we are taking. We think it's going to help us manage our upgrade path for these clients by always knowing, you know, narrowing the list of host providers of our software and doing those upgrades, you know, hopefully in a multi-tenant environment here in the future. So anyway, that's maybe a key comment I have. If there's any questions for me, otherwise I'll make sure Donna gets a chance to speak if she's here. I'm not sure if I heard from her today. Donna, are you on the call? Okay. Maybe she dropped. I don't know if she was able to join, but you can speed read through any of her comments if you're interested. She was in the 10% range today, trending to 25% over the next year. Longevity is where they lead. Very few are driven by, of their campaigns are driven by ISVs. And in terms of buying signals, either they're already hosting at least one software solution, or they don't have much of an IT department, or they have a very old server. Those are clues into a cloud opportunity. So just 2 or 3 minutes here. I'll open it up for any comments or feedback in general. We've covered a lot of ground here, and I want to thank you all for your participation today.
Thanks, Steve. That was a lot of research. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for doing that, Steve.
Thank you, Steve.
And I need a special thanks to Natalie as well. I consulted her on the questionnaire, and she was very helpful.
Oh gosh, I'm glad I was helpful. I don't know that I was as helpful as you give me credit for, but thank you.
Well, okay. That's a wrap then. Thanks, everyone, and I'll try to get this recording out to the group. And then, I don't know, Anya, any idea who's next month or any comments you wanted to make?
Let me look that up really quick. Somebody do a little song and dance while I look that up. How about the events? Who's going to the different events that are coming up?
Yes, Michael, I might have mentioned this, but I'm going to SL User Group for the first time ever, and that's next
Oh, good.
month. I'm excited about
That's great.
that.
Yeah, that's good. It's a great group. I'm probably not going to be there this year. I was there the last 2 years, but yeah, you'll enjoy it. Yeah, there'll be lots of synergy people there too.
Okay, excellent.
Yeah, usually about 20% or 15% of the clients that attend are SL clients. We have a huge group there.
Okay, I'm doing about 3 presentations there too, so hopefully I'll meet some of your team.
Okay.
So next month we actually don't have a host because that was going to be Amy. So if anybody wants to volunteer, let me know, or we can just kind of do an open call, maybe talk about some of the campaigns we're running and things like that. That's it.
Okay. Sounds great. Take care, everyone.
Bye.
All right. Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.